F4-2 that Miss Clay gave us in class. So the moment is the torque or rotation force around an object. So here there's this one force right here that is pulling in both a y and an x direction. So the first thing we need to do is to break this force down into its components. Okay, so they gave us this angle right here, which is 30. So we know that our y component is 300 sine 30. And our x component is 300 cosine 30. And we know this because of SOHCAHTOA, sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. And then cosine is adjacent, which is right here over the hypotenuse. So now that we have this figured out, we need to find out all of our distances. So they give us this 0.4 and they give us this 0.3. So now we need to solve for this x on the 0.3 and the y on the 0.3. So if we draw a triangle, okay, so they give us that this is a 45-degree triangle and that this is 0.3. So now we need to solve for both of these sides right here. So the easiest way to do this is to do another SOHCAHTOA problem and solve for this and solve for this. So you can do sine of 45 equals opposite, which is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 0.3. And now when you multiply those together, plug it into your calculator, make sure you're in degrees, you get 0.212. So now we know that this height is 0.212. And since this is a 45-45-90 triangle, we know that both of these sides are the same. So y and x equals 0.212. So now we've given this side and this side right here. Okay, so now we can start solving. So we know our x component, we know our y component, and remember that the force needs to be times the perpendicular distance. So that means if we have the horizontal force, we need a vertical distance, and if we have the vertical force, we need the horizontal distance. So remember, you started out like this to show that counterclockwise is positive. Counterclockwise of the moment about point O, which is right here, equals. Alright, so I always start out with my x's first. X right here. So our x force is right here. It's 300 cosine 30. And now we need to know if this x is going positive or negative. So right here, if we pull this way, like we drew right here, if we pull this way on the X, it's going to show us that it's going to go like this and around, like that. So we know that is clockwise, so therefore this needs to be negative. Alright, and now, since there's only one X force, that's all we have to do for the X's. And now we need to add our Y force to it. So Y. So our Y is going up, and from here, if we pull up, it's going to start going like this. And that is counterclockwise, which is positive. So it's 300 sine 30 up. Oh, hold on, I totally messed up right here. So we need to multiply by our distance. So our x that we found was negative 300 cosine 30 because it's pulling it around in a negative direction. But then our x's right here. So we need the vertical direction since we had the horizontal force. So the vertical direction is 0.212. Plus, so now we can do our y. So our y force was given 300 sine 30. We solved that. And we figured out that it was positive because once you pull it up, it's going to spin it around in a clockwise direction. Counterclockwise, sorry. So now we have 300 sine 30. And now we need to multiply it by our distance. So since we had a vertical force right here, we need the perpendicular, so that means horizontal. So from here, the horizontal distance to this point O is 0.4 plus 0.212, which gets you 0.612. Okay? So now simply all you do is multiply these together. So when you get this, or negative 300 cosine 30 times 0.212 is negative 55.08 Newton meters. Because this force right here is in newtons and this distance is meters, plus 300 sine 30 times 0.612, which is 91.8 Newton meters. So now you add these two together, and I'm going to write it right here. So we need to write which way is positive, which she showed us in class. The positive moment about O is going to be these two added up, which is 36.72 36.72 Newton meters in a positive direction. Positive is denoted as counterclockwise. So right here, so if this number ended out negative, you would write it in a clockwise direction. But since these two numbers added up to be positive, you add it in a clockwise direction and then box your answer.